Serving up a warm dish of the Triad's culinary fare, here's your weekly helping of food, news, and views. This is the man who ate the town.
Hey folks, and welcome to episode 228 of the Man Who Ate the Town podcast. This is for the week of February 14th through the 20th, 2022. My name is Tim Beeman.
And I'm Street Team Steve.
And we're opening the recipe trunk. We're recording this episode of the Man Who Ate the Town in the Les Desirable Studios in the Lab Industry Hill. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcatchers like Apple Podcast, Stitcher, or Spotify, or anything like that, we'd appreciate a like, a follow, and a rating. It would help us more than you will ever know. And if you're listening to us on the Triad Podcast Network, welcome and thank you. This episode of the Man Who Ate the Town is brought to you by Diamondback Grill. It is casual dining located in the heart of Buena Vista in Winston-Salem. It is a fantastic family-owned farm-to-fork restaurant that sources most of its ingredients from local farmers, and the ambiance is always amazing. I have sent several colleagues to Diamondback for their company dinners, their meetings, family outings, and just, hey, I need someplace romantic to go with my girl. Well, here's the place to go. They really are that awesome over there. Diamondback Grill is at 751 Avalon Road. Find them on the web at diamondbackgrill.com and on Facebook and Instagram at Diamondback Grill. To make reservations, call 336-722-0006. And, of course, tell them that I sent you. And before we get started, I would want to say even more now. Everyone's hiring. Get a job. So I'm going to spend this episode, for me, going over the Burger Tour final results. There may be some things that Steven has to talk about that he's seen on like Winston-Salem Eats or whatever, but I'm going to focus mainly on this, but I do have a few things to mention. One, I'm not going to do a rundown on places people should go tonight to celebrate Valentine's Day. One, you're probably too late to get a reservation. Two, you should go check out the Go to Winston-Salem's Instagram and website. They probably have recommendations over there. I know that she was on an interview with Algernon Cash for Eat, Drink, Triads podcast because I produced it. Go there and check that out. She does great work. Christy Bellis is on it. And before I do the list that we're going to go through, I do want to mention that 600 Degrees should be getting their final inspection this Wednesday.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that means the final bureaucratic roadblock will be removed. From that point, it's all about them getting ready. I have the exclusive rights for first showing, so I will be going this week, start grabbing some finalized pictures and probably some video. I don't think there will be food involved just yet, but soon, and I'll let you all know when that happens. I was at 600 Degrees 2 weeks ago and noticed the sign on the window at the parcel next to 600 Degrees for Barcelona Burger. The sign said, voted the best burger in North Carolina, which I say we'll see. But I know they're based out of Mooresville. They only have one other location, and we'll be opening this location probably in later this year or whatever. But right now there is no floor, only dirt, so they're still a while away.
Are they like Spanish influenced or something, or what's the name from?
I don't know. Maybe it's their last name. Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
JL Casper's opens in the Roar facility tonight. It's an upscale steakhouse, and tonight's menu is prefixed, so you can't order a la carte. But if you don't have reservations, like I said at the beginning, I'd probably say you're not going to try much anyway. When I say upscale, I mean upscale. The prices will reflect that, but if it's good, it should be worth it. I do know in Roar, in the Ford Food Hall, Joey Carell's American Street Food, and Dragon Fruit Asian Fare, and I believe the Blue Crab Seafood are also open. The Duck Pin Bowling and Golf Simulators are also a go. Plus, there's a beer wall on the top and main floors, so try that. And I do know that Binky Cafe, a boba tea and ramen shop, is opening off of Haynes Mall Boulevard. So that's the things that I've looked at. I've spent my last little bit in either a class or trying to finalize this list. So that's what I've been doing.
So what are you doing tonight for Valentine's?
I'm going home.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, you going to cook?
Yeah. Probably not. Stephanie and I, this sounds cheesy and mushy and all that, but we celebrate Valentine's Day every day. And she would even say that. She actually told somebody that last night at the Super Bowl party. What y'all doing? It's just what we do every day because every day is Valentine's Day.
Wow.
So
Nice.
yeah, so I'm happy in that. But yeah, probably I'll go home and watch wrestling. That's what I do on Mondays, especially when there's no football now that football season is over. And I have some homework to do for the class that I'm taking, the entrepreneurial class, for the month of February. And I may or may not do that because I may or may not have done any of the other stuff because it's hard to explain. I think it's a good class for those in a startup, but I've been doing this for a long time. So I'm the only one of the 11 teams, and we're considered a team, that already has a business going. Everybody else is in the idea stage. So
Cool. So the only news I have, two things, one minor, but if you don't have a reservation and you're listening to this, Delicios is actually not taking reservations at all.
Yeah, they never do.
So it's first come, first serve, but they'll do a call in. So you can call ahead. So it's
about an hour
possible.
before, they say.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then number two, we are strangely getting a second ramen place in, according to at least what I've read. It's going to be basically near the Arby's. That's on Stratford and Knollwood.
Yeah.
At where the old Subway used to be in that kind of a strip mall. So,
Okay.
And that's, well, it's a ramen Japanese place. It's the food truck that is near Radar almost all the weekends.
Yeah.
Really good Japanese food truck. And so they're opening a brick and mortar in that location. So that's pretty exciting.
So where the Subway was is a very small spot. So it must be a takeout only.
I don't know that one yet, but since they're going from a food truck to that, it's got to be bigger.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because I know that it was supposed to have been like an Italian ice type place.
I think that's still there too. Philadelphia, I think in this case.
Okay.
I think that's actually right next to it or right near.
Okay, because the Subway was on the Cap, and then that's why I'm saying Subways are not very big anyway.
No.
So I don't know. Good.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll work out.
Maybe it will. Anyways, I'm excited because I've gone to that food truck multiple times and it's really excellent food.
And we don't know what the truck is.
I can look it up. I don't remember the name of it.
Okay. All right. It's not Pacific Rim.
No, it's not. No. It's definitely Japanese sounding.
Okay. So Eat Drink Restaurant Week is coming in late March into April. So when that comes closer, I will have more information. I am a sponsor, so we're good. And again, I want to get everyone to check out the Go To Winston-Salem. That was at one time Explore Winston-Salem, an Instagram-based business. Tell you all the cool and groovy things happening in our hometown. They are on Instagram as The Go To Winston-Salem and on the web at thegotowinstonsalem.com. All right, Stephen, you ready for this?
I am. I've been waiting for this for a long time.
All right, everybody has, and I apologize for taking so long. So, this past year's burger tour was quite the undertaking. The roster of to be had was massive. The list was 102 restaurants deep. I was saying 103, but one of them was Steve's Tasty Burgers. So that one was just a test, so I had to erase that one. But
Hey, I thought it won.
well, it had 100%. So these included burger-specific restaurants. They had diners, casual dining, and other things. The list was compiled from suggestions from readers, listeners, friends, and things that I was wanting to try and things that Stephen wanted to try. I wasn't alone in this, as I've said. Street Team Stephen was a sponsor of this tour. I always call you Stephen. Do you want Stephen or Steve?
Steve, actually. I'm pretty informal.
Okay. All right. So Steve was a sponsor of this tour. He accompanied me to a large portion of the restaurants. We talked and conferred, but all the ratings are mine. My wife, Stephanie, went with me for several of them as well, and with Steve on some of them. Same went for her, too. She had some say, but the rating was still mine to make. And my friend Jeff David sponsored one of the burgers as well. To recap the tour, we started this on March 22nd, 2021, and it ran until the week after Thanksgiving. Yes, there were 102 to choose from, but I didn't get to them all. I couldn't and really shouldn't have more than 3 or 4 a week. I had to have some breaks. Some that were missed were ones that I really wanted to get to, but just didn't for whatever reason, whether for proximity's sake, convenience, or honestly desire. Not that I didn't want to go to some of them, but because there were others that I felt I needed to try more that were more necessary. The ones that I missed outside of Winston-Salem were because of distance. The ones outside of Winston-Salem that I did get to were because I was either working in that area on an outside project or Stephen and I actually went there on purpose together. So I'm going to first remind you of what the 2019 Burger Tour results were. And this was the top 10 burgers in the area, starting with 10th going down. Number 10, Small Batch. Number 9, Max Burger. Number 8, West End Cafe. Number 7, Chin Chin Burger Bar. Number 6, Canteen Market and Bistro. Number 5, Food Freaks of North Carolina with food truck. Number 4, Zito Pizzeria and Grill. Number 3, Social Southern Kitchen and Cocktails. Number 2 was Zesto Burgers and Ice Cream. And number 1 was Boondoggies. Of those 10, 3 are no longer in business at all. That's Zesto, Social, and Max Burger. 2 have changed their concepts, which is Small Batch and Canteen. Small Batch still has their brewery here in Winston. They have a burger spot in a actual restaurant in High Point. But the Small Batch that was on there was from when it was Burger Batch, Small Batch. And Canteen is no longer doing what they were doing. 1 was a food truck that isn't doing the food truck thing much anymore, but they have a brick and mortar, which is Food Freaks. And 4 are still doing what they were doing mostly, and the mostly I'll talk about in a second. These burgers were different kind of burgers going up against each other. The list had specialty burgers, pub burgers, diner burgers, weird burgers, and so on. This year, I and Steve too, decided that to be a contender for the list, it was going to have to be a standard ingredient burger. This means as close as possible. It was going to be cheese, mayo, pickle, tomato, onion, sometimes mustard, perhaps shredded lettuce if that was the lettuce style, but no whole leaf lettuce and no iceberg especially, and no leaf lettuce. Others were allowed, but I did allow spinach as a substitute because that's not lettuce. If there was a burger sauce, like a special sauce or a Russian dressing type thing, we used that mostly instead of mayonnaise. The difference wasn't really noticeable in the grand scheme of things. Some of the ones on this year's list are pub burgers, others are diner burgers. Pub burgers are generally around 7 to 8 ounces. Diner burgers are generally 3 to 4 ounces. Some of the burgers are fresh beef, some are frozen. I have found that I don't mind frozen beef as long as the final product is seasoned well and done right. It's the final product, not how it got there. For this year, Stephen and I, mostly Steve, devised a system to allow me to put a numerical rating into 6 different categories. Those categories were flavor, quality of ingredients, presentation, aroma, order correctness, and overall happiness. It wasn't a straight across-the-board weighting. Order correctness and aroma were 5% each of the total rating. Excuse me. The presentation was 10%. Quality of ingredients was 20%. Flavor was 25%, and overall happiness was 35% of the rating. Because to me, what I felt while eating it, the enjoyment of the burger, the ambience in which I was in, consuming it, and all that matters a lot to me. After all, the whole purpose is the experience, at least to me. All those categories equaled 100%. For this year's final list, I expanded to a top 15, and really that's a misnomer because numbers 10 through 15 are basically tied and mostly interchangeable. They could be anywhere. There are some that we couldn't put in the contention for the official ranking because of several factors, some which are chains, smaller or otherwise, specialty burgers, availability, and things like that. So this is the list of the burgers I did get to, either with Steve or without him. 4th Street Filling Station, 601 Burgers and Brews, 6 and Vine, A Slice of Napoli, Allen's Dairy Treats, Antojitos Las Delicias, Big Burger Spot, the Guilford College area, Big Burger Spot, Kernersville, Big Burger Spot, Battleground in Greensboro, Bobo's Deli and Grill, Boondoggies, Cafe Arthur's, Cagney's, Campus Gas, Carolina Ale House, Char's Hamburgers, Chin Chin Burger Bar, Culver's, Dario, DB's Grill, Earl's, Food Freaks, Foothills Brew Pub in downtown, Foothills Grill and Tap in King, which is not related to the brewery, Frank's New York Style Pizza and Subs in Royal Hall, Grandma Ruby's, Greek Guy's Grill, Hero House, Hop's Burger Bar here in Winston, not the one in Greensboro, which we'll talk about in a minute, Hot Dog City, Joe's Takeout in Clemens, John Brown's Country Store and Grill in King, Johnny B's Grill House, Kermit's Hot Dogs, King's Hot Dogs in Rural Hall, Little Red Caboose, Local Artisan, which is currently closed, Mama Zoe Michaels, Mojito with their Mojito Burger, Mozelle's, Mr. Barbecue, Munchbox, Nick's Old Fashioned Burgers and Welcome, PB's Takeout, Papa Lee's Grill, which is currently closed, Piedmont Aviation Snack Bar, Pine Tree Tavern, Putters, Quiet Pint Tavern, Rudy's Cafe and Catering in Greensboro, Small Batch High Point, Thunder Road, Times Square Pizza, which is now called The Pizza Place, TJ's Deli in Parkway Plaza, Tuning Fork Provisions, which is owned by Mojito, Twin Peaks Restaurant, Wait Mart, which is an Exxon on Cherry Street, West End Cafe, Willow's Bistro, Young Cardinal Cafe, Zito's Pizzeria and Grill, and Zoe's Kitchen on Trend West. So a much smaller list are the ones I did not get to, which is 66 Pizza, 801 Southern Kitchen and Pancake House in Advance, Beef Burger in Greensboro, Brick Oven Pizza in Clemens, Burger Supreme, The Truck, Davy Tavern, Diamondback Grill, which I'll explain more in a minute, Doss's in Kernersville, East Coast Wings, Gray's Tavern in Greensboro, Hop's Burger Bar in Greensboro, Jay Butler's, Jeffrey Adams, Kickback Jack's, King's Crab Shack, Cranky's, Lone Star Burger in High Point, Mayberry Ice Cream, Midtown Cafe, Milner's, Mossy's in Clemens, Old 64 Diner, Old Richmond Grill, Pofftown Kitchen, Porterhouse Burger Company in High Point, River Birch Lodge, Sir Winston, Small Batch here in Winston, Sweet Potatoes, The Catherine, The Loop Restaurant, Tipsy's Tavern in High Point, Tucker's Grill in Hornytown, Twin City Minis, The Truck, Villa Grill in Clemens, What You Say Burgers, The Truck, and Zoe's Kitchen on Old Walkertown Road. As I said, some of the ones I couldn't get to were a matter of location and convenience. I had to go to many of these in between work and lunch hour time, so I couldn't get to a lot of the outlying places unless Steve and I were making a trip out of it. It wasn't that I didn't want to try them, it just wasn't in the cards this time around. On this tour, I'm sorry to say that I had some of the worst burgers that I've ever had in my life, and I'm not going to mention who they are because I'm about building up local food establishments, not taking them down. And I think for the most part, these restaurants offer a lot of good stuff outside the not so good burgers on their menus, or they just happen to have a burger on the menu and that wasn't what their cuisine actually was. There are some that we couldn't put in contention for the official rankings because of several factors, most of which are chains, smaller or otherwise, specialty burgers, availability, and things like that. Before we get to the list, I want to go over some honorable mentions and or explanations. I said I did not go to Diamondback Grill. I did actually have a specialty burger from them, but not their regular menu burger, so I couldn't count that. Plus, being as they're a sponsor of mine, I wouldn't have included them in the rankings anyway. This way, there's no claim of favoritism given to that. The same goes for Mojito Latin Soul Food, where I did have their Mojito burger, and it rated okay. So
that's the sausage burger, right?
Well, it's half beef, half chorizo.
Chorizo, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it was. It was very good. Two of the last list top 10 were left off this time. Food Freaks couldn't count because their menu specifically and explicitly says there are no lettuce, tomato, or pickles available. So it could be a specialty burger, which we had the Godfather and the Puff Minto, but not in compliance with the rules this time around. So that's why Food Freaks will not be on this list. Zito's Pizzeria scored a 90 and would have pushed numbers 10 through 15 off the list altogether. However, because the burger isn't conspicuous on the menu and she doesn't have beef all the time because she uses most of her beef for meat sauces and and toppings for pizzas and stuff. So I couldn't count that. But if you're going there and want a burger, call ahead to see if they have the beef that they need for it. And I will say it's worth it if they do have it.
That was a memorable burger. That was a great burger.
Yes.
Yep.
There are a few quote unquote chains that I should have that could have shown up in this list, but because I'm narrowing it to local independents, I chose not to include them on the list proper. But here's how some of them stacked up. Culver's actually rated a 91. This is actually one of the best burgers in town. And Vikram is community-minded and wants to be involved. Go give them a try, and hey, cheese curds.
Yes. That was a great smash-type burger. That was really good.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, he did a really good job with that.
And Vikram is the manager, right?
He's the owner.
The owner.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. He's the owner.
He was a really nice guy.
Dario. And yes, I know that they're local, but they have more than 3 locations and are a little bit bigger than I'd like for the local aspect. They do great stuff for the community. They have great food. They actually rated an 89, which, again, would have pushed most of the stuff off the 15 through 10. And I really like their double cheeseburgers. I have been several times for unofficial burgers, and I do suggest you try them if you haven't. Twin Peaks. They were better than I expected and scored 84, which would have been a tie with 15 through 10. But they're part of Fat Brands, which includes over 2,000 restaurant locations worldwide. So I decided, no, I did not want to include that.
I am not familiar with Twin Peaks at all. Where is this located?
Do you know where Macaroni Grill was on Haynes Mall Boulevard? It's exactly there.
Oh, okay.
It is, if you think less lewd Hooters, but with a mountain, it's that Pacific Northwest theme. So all the girls are dressed, only females can work there. And here's the thing about them, even though the company itself is owned by Fat Brands, the CEO, marketing manager, and vice president are all women and are for the advancement of women. So they're scantily clad women, but it's tasteful as opposed to like Hooters. And they're all dressed in flannel and stuff. So, and it's, again, the Pacific Northwest, just like the TV show, based from that.
Got it.
Yeah. And the burger was actually really good. Like I said, I was very surprised. On this tour, I've already read that part and you can take that off. But I will say that those things are, it's a shame that they couldn't be on here, but also not a shame because I, again, am pushing my locals. So here it is. I'm going to start from 15 and count down. And I reiterate that numbers 15 through 10 could have been in any number. So just because one is 11 doesn't mean it did better than the one before it. I just had to put it somewhere. The numbers in parentheses are how the location rated out of a possible 100. Number 15. Nick's Old Fashioned Hamburger.
Well, that's going to go over like a lead balloon.
Yeah, well, I'm going to explain why. Street Team Steve and I went there to not only try the burger, but the tenderloin sandwich as well. And I will be 100% up front with you. I've had better burgers from Nick's than we did on this trip. I've had really good burgers. It probably would have been number 2 any other day, but the day we went.
Yeah.
It was not a fantastic burger that day. So I tried to make it about this trip. Even with that, though, it was still a strong burger. Mayonnaise, pickles, tomato, onion, and cheese. We had not only a single cheeseburger, but the tenderloin sandwich and a double burger. We kind of went over on that one, but that's okay. I think that you and I both agreed, Steve, that the double was the way to go.
Absolutely.
There was not enough substance in the single, but the double wasn't like you think huge. It was enough. Had I had this, I didn't even know about them. I didn't even know they existed. Had this been on the 2019 tour, they probably would have been top 10, if not number 2 then. Nick's is in Welcome at 6999 Old Highway 52, which is just past North Davidson High School on the right if you're coming from Winston. Number 14, Big Burger Spot, Kernersville. The two Greensboro locations did fairly well too, one at 80 and one at 79, but the Kernersville location won due to the overall happiness rating. The experience was better at the Kernersville one, not that it wasn't before, but the onion rings were spectacular too, and that really only partially goes with the overall happiness. The burger was solid, and all three locations were solid, but I think part of it was the owner of all of them was actually at this location that day, and he actually made my burger. He didn't know what I was doing. It was just so happened to be that way. And I had eaten at the one in Greensboro, I think, earlier that day for lunch. This was dinner. So, yeah, that was a twofer that day, which is not the last time we did that. But we were working in Greensboro that day, so I had gone to one. And so there was mayo, pickles, tomato, onion, mustard, ketchup, and cheese. This was what they called, I think it was the classic or whatever they called it. It was a pub burger with diner burger personality. So it was big, but it was, the experience was more diner burger. Big Burger Spot in Kernersville is located at 803 Old Winston Road. Number 13, both of those had a score of 84. Also with 84 at number 13, Hero House. This was recommended to me by my friend Paul Jones while I haven't eaten there in a long time. I have eaten at Hero House before. Mostly because it's on Stratford Road and it can be a pain to get in and out of. I just went for a late lunch and missed most of that traffic, so that's good. But I'm so glad that Paul put me on this burger. It had this great under flavor of onions like a good diner burger should be. The short order burger, like the grill was seasoned well. It had that onions. Even if I had got no onions on it, it would have been oniony away. And while it used to be I didn't like onions at all, I always liked the under flavor because I like onion flavor. I just don't like, at the time, didn't like onions. But now I've grown up and realized that I don't eat like a toddler anymore. So, and Hero House is a great family-owned business too, and they do good work. They're located at 914 South Stratford Road here in Winston. So of those three, what do you think?
Pretty solid, except I don't think I think I only ate at one of those. So
yeah.
I'm surprised by Hero House. I mean, they have a great falafel, by the way. Wonderful falafel, and some other stuff. But I'm glad to know that it's for a solid. What kind of bun was it? Do you remember?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
A lot of that I did not write down the bun type, and I should have, because I know we talked about it when we did it. But there's some of them I'll mention like that, but I don't know. Number 12, West End Cafe, also an 84. Here's the first return burger from the 2019 list, the Cheeseburger Grinder. Mm-hmm. West End Cafe does everything well. And the Cheeseburger Grinder technically is not on the menu, but all the ingredients are. So you can, they have a regular cheeseburger.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but
that's confusing.
But I made this myself.
Right. So it's like cheeseburger Philly sort of thing.
Kind of. So General Manager John McLemore introduced this to me in 2019, and I returned to it this time. It's basically a burger patty formed in the shape of a rectangle, topped with Thousand Island dressing, spinach instead of lettuce for me, tomato, onion, pickle, American and pepper jack cheese on a hoagie bun. Mm-hmm. So
sounds actually like a great sandwich.
It was. It's a damn fine burger, I will say. It's a bit messy, but delicious. Yeah, because I left off, luckily I left the mayonnaise off because I used Thousand Island, which has mayonnaise in it. But, yeah. West End Cafe is at 926 West 4th Street in Winston-Salem, right across from Grace Court.
Great place.
Indeed. Yeah, I've in the last week, I've not eating a burger, but I've eaten lunch there 3 times.
Yep.
It's just solid food.
Yep. I think it's one of the best Reubens you can get around, by the way. If you haven't had it yet, they do an amazing Reuben sandwich. They do amazing food, but their Reuben really stands out for me.
When I was there last, actually next to last, Chef Jeff Bacon was he walked in and he came up and said, "Hey," and we're friends anyway, so we sat and talked for a minute. And he said usually his go-to is the pastrami Reuben. So he went for the Italian sub, which is usually my go-to, and I was eating the triple decker club for I just wanted something else and went with that. But anyway, West End Cafe, you can't go wrong with anything they have there, and their dinner specials are really good too. They're solid. Number 11, also with a score of 84, Antojitos Las Delicias. This was a bit different and a wonderful surprise, a Mexican burger. My Facebook friend, Sarai, her mother owns this restaurant and had mentioned that they do a burger, so I had to try it. So in addition to the mayonnaise for this, they have avocado as a spread and it added a whole different dimension to the burger. I'm not sure which cheese they used, but it was white, so probably either a white American, because I know that they use that a lot in Mexican restaurants, or it was not. Is it cotija? Is that how you say it?
Cotija.
It wasn't that, right. But
or queso fresco. That's also white, but crumbly.
This was actually melty cheese.
Okay.
So white American's what I'm guessing. And here's a pro tip for you. Just get a single patty. You do not need the second one. Trust me, I learned that by experience. And I went back and had another one with just a single patty. Even better. Now, the flavors, because of the Mexican spices that they were using, the white American cheese, the avocado on there, added just a little more fat.
Yeah, a little more unctuousness.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, earthiness. Yeah, it was good.
I love the idea of the avocado. I really do. Actually, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm going to have to try that. That's a great idea.
So, again, just a single. You don't need a dome. Antojitos Las Delicias is located at 1521 East 5th Street here in Winston and is takeout only. They used to have outdoor seating, but when COVID came around, they decided that it's just too much to keep up with. So, number 10, also at 84, Moselle's Fresh Southern Bistro. The Chef's Double from Chef Jay Pierce was what I had. Let me tell you, this burger was one huge mess. In fact, it probably would have rated higher, but it was falling apart from so much stuff happening with it. All that, though, and it was delicious still. Worthy of a higher placement, but the overall happiness factor took a bit of a hit because of the mess. 2 smashed Brasstown beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, American cheese, and I mean a shit ton of American cheese, pickles, onions on a brioche bun. Yeah. And I actually had brunch there on Saturday, and it was fantastic. I had the go back to bed sandwich, which is what was on it? I'll have to look it up, but it's basically bacon, ham. I got 2 eggs on it, and cheese and gravy on a croissant.
Oh my! Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was good.
Sounds great.
Yeah, but I've never had a bad meal at Moselle's, either before or after Chef Jay Pierce has gotten there. And it's also on 4th Street, 878, which is just 2 doors really up from West End Cafe that I mentioned earlier. So that's the top 15 through 10 that all had the score of 84. So we're good so far?
Good so far. Solid.
All right. So here we go into the top 9, and most of these ratings were different. So number 9, Young Cardinal Cafe. The YC Burger, which is a pub burger with a 6-ounce ground beef patty. And I say pub burger at that size because the whole thing was huge. onion aioli instead of mayonnaise, so I got onion and mayonnaise in that. Pickle slices, big long ones, sliced tomato, cheddar cheese. I do wish there was a cheese option that wasn't cheddar, as I don't like cheddar on my burgers. But this was white cheddar with melts a little bit better, so it wasn't a deal killer. The onion aioli was a bit messy, but the flavors on this with the onion and all the other things that were going on were just amazing. Chefs Andrews and Swing do amazing work over at YCC, and I'm so glad that I had this one on our anniversary, by the way. It was Stephanie and we were out celebrating and went to Young Cardinal, and it was, I'm like, I need to have it anyway, so let's do it. My usual go-to is their huevos rancheros, because there's no one in town that does it like that. I've had huevos rancheros that are good in other places, don't get me wrong, but Young Cardinal, they do it, I think, better than anybody else.
Totally agree. It's absolutely the best huevos rancheros I've had in this town. So,
yeah.
Yep. I mean, everything I eat there is solid, but that's my number one go-to.
Yeah. The patty was cooked just right, and all the ingredients popped well together. It was juicy, messy, and delicious. Young Cardinal Cafe is located at 424 4th Street, West 4th Street in Winston. It's on the main drag between Spruce Street and Marshall. It's in the end cap right across from what used to be what still is canteen, but what used to be the restaurant canteen. Number 8. Young Cardinal scored an 86, by the way. Number 8, King's Hot Dogs scored an 87. King's Hot Dogs was on the Monster Friday trip that Stephanie and Steve and I took to King and Rural Hall. We tried 4 burgers that day. Steven and I split all 4, so we really only had 2. But with the break and travel in between, it started to settle, and we got loaded up pretty fast. This was the last one that we had on that day, and truthfully, I didn't want it, and I didn't enjoy it. It was way too much to try at once, and while I don't usually give second chances, this wasn't their fault. This was mine. So I went back to give it its own fair shake, because I could tell there was something about it that should have been rated higher than what I gave it. And this, again, wasn't the restaurant's fault. This was my fault. So the second time around, I'm glad I went back. Double patties, mayo, pickles, tomato, onion, and light mustard. It was a party. It was really good. The fries were fries. Did I get fries with that? I don't remember, but I believe that was included in the overall happiness. I was very, very glad. And, part of the overall happiness, in all honesty, could have been that they had the Addams Family playing on the TV right behind me, and I got to listen to that, and it took me back to my childhood. But I'm kidding about that. That didn't affect the rating, but it was a damn fine burger. King's Hot Dogs, located at 1009 Bethania Rural Hall Road in Rural Hall.
I'm glad you went back, because I've been there a few times before too, and I knew that their burgers were actually very solid burgers. And you're absolutely correct. I barely remember that Friday. It took 2 days to recover.
Yeah,
but
yeah. It was rough.
Yep, it was. But good. I'm glad you went back, and I'm glad they did good.
Yeah. Number 7, and I kind of struggled with this one, only because I'm like, was it that good? And then I went back to look at the picture and remembered what it was like to eat it. So with an 88 score at number 7, Greek Guy's Grill.
Oh.
This was a surprise. This is almost certainly a frozen patty. But with this perfect example of taking a frozen patty and making it taste delicious, I was willing to let that go. Stephanie and I stopped after going to her mom's for the nightly check-in. It wasn't on the list, but I saw it on the menu when we were in there, and I decided to give it a shot, the burger, that is. It was seasoned so well and the ingredients so fresh that it literally made me go, out loud. Stephanie had one as well, and she agreed with me. It was a double diner patty, mayo, pickles, tomato, onion on a sesame seed bun, which I generally don't like, but the seeds were sparse and not just like covered. It was just a couple that added that sesame taste without like rocks crumbling in your mouth. So it was not in any way distracting at all. And even to this day, when we drive by there, because we drive by it to get to our mom's, I think, man, I could go for a Greek Guy's burger right now. So again, overall happiness was part of it, but the flavors and freshness of ingredients was huge. It was fantastic. So they are located at 2545 Somerset Center Drive in Winston-Salem, over off Stratford Road. Number 6, also with an 88 rating, Piedmont Aviation Snack Bar. Another huge surprise for me. I had seen it in passing, but I didn't know if it was actually open because the credit union that's beside it has been gone. I mean, the building's still there, but the business has been over off Stratford Road now for 4 or 5 years, so it's a building sitting empty. I had also noticed it on the DoorDash menu as well, and I'm like, is this really, can it be delivered? And what is a snack bar doing that? I just didn't know much about it, and I saw a friend who, I'll say Algernon, talk about it, and I decided to jump in there and try it. It's another situation of taking a frozen patty and making magic with it. Much of the score here is from my enjoyment from eating it, but I cannot take anything away from the flavors. The seasoned grill, because that grill's been used a lot, with all of its years of use, along with the fresh ingredients and proper seasoning on the patties, is certainly magic. It was a double diner patty, mayo, pickles, tomato, onion. I have said this a bit in the past, but Piedmont Aviation Snack Bar is a hidden gem in this town, and we need to make it less hidden. You won't be sorry if you go.
No, you won't. And they're such nice people. The whole family that runs it is just great people.
Yeah.
I've not had anything bad there, and I'll tell you, if you don't go for the burgers, their breakfast sandwiches are incredibly good too. I just had the steak, egg, and cheese one on a bagel. That is everything you'd ever want in a breakfast type sandwich.
I'm a fan of their monster wrap breakfast.
Yep, you mentioned that before.
And I tell them to go light on the gravy because I just don't want it running all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so good.
Yep.
Piedmont Aviation Snack Bar is located at 3820 North Liberty Street, directly across from Smith Reynolds Airport. The reason this got number 6 and with the 88, which is the same as Greek Guys, because this did not have any category below an 8 on its rating. So that's why it got number 6, even though it had the same number. Number 5, Hops Burger Bar here in Winston-Salem with an 89 score. This was a definite surprise. Anyone reading this and having been in Winston-Salem for the last 3 years is probably questioning why it's a surprise. But in 2019, they had just opened. There was a lot of hype, and I really didn't understand why. And in some ways, I still don't understand that hype. But when Steve and I went there for a burger, it was underwhelming, to say the least. This time around, with time to season the grill and their employees, they were able to knock it out of the park. While we had 2 burgers, the spicy goat with goat cheese, applewood bacon, sweet and spicy jelly, and lettuce, which we got just to try, and the Hops Classic. The Classic is the one that came with American cheese, applewood bacon, lettuce, tomato, pickles, onions, ketchup, mustard, and mayo. Now, I can't remember what it was, if it was something wrong with our order. Either it was supposed to not have lettuce on it, and it did, or something was left off, and the server had to bring it to us. I don't remember what it was. In the ratings, I know I nicked it just a little bit for that, but my silly self didn't put it down, so I don't know what it was. I will say Steve and I were both very pleased with that Hops Classic. It was solid, to say the least. And I love on Monday, or actually they usually don't do it until late Monday, so it's a little behind, but they have a weekly special that is out of the ordinary, which some of their burgers already are out of the ordinary. But some of those look really, really good.
Yeah. I remember when we were doing that one, we kept asking each other, is this the same burger place that we went to 2 years ago? Because it was nothing nothing the same. I mean,
No.
it was so good, so much better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, the burgers, and again, to give them credit on this, or at least benefit of the doubt, they had only been open a couple of months.
Yeah.
But they knocked it out of the park this
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
They're
And that goat burger, by the way,
Yeah,
it
it
was
was-
amazing flavors. I mean, that's just a powerhouse in your mouth flavor set. I
Yeah.
mean, that was also extremely good.
Yeah.
So, yep, they did great.
They're located at 901 Renolda Road here in Winston-Salem. Number 4 with a score of 89. Mr. Barbecue. When I did my rankings in 2019, I said then that this would have been number 3, but a devastating fire closed the restaurant and led to its rebuild in early 2021. Mr. Barbecue has risen to the top 4, even though they don't have the jumbo-sized burgers that they used to have. That used to be my go-to. This is always a solid burger, almost what a diner burger should be, frozen or not, which I'm not sure that it's frozen. Sometimes I think that it is, and sometimes I think that it's not. And Jimmy won't be up front with me about it. So, and probably a good bit of it is that I just enjoy eating at Mr. Barbecue. Mm-hmm. We did without it for a period of time, and that was hard for us who really, really loved it. I always get mine with mayonnaise, pickles, tomato, onion. It's my comfort food, Mr. Barbecue is, and Miss Fried Chicken. Mm-hmm. If you've not had their fried chicken, they have perfected their recipe. It took them a little bit after the rebuild to get it dialed in right, but it's right now. Whether you get the fried chicken itself or you get the fried chicken breast sandwich, you're going to love those flavors. Mr. Barbecue is located at 1381 Peters Creek Parkway, and they eked out hops because the order correctness was a 10 for Mr. Barbecue and a 9 for hops. I remember you and I, we were sitting outside, and the aforementioned Jeff Bacon walked by. He said, "I came here because you said that they were now open." And you and I looked at each other, and I said, I know you said to me, you said, "It's a damn good diner burger."
It is. It is. It's a great diner burger.
Yeah. So I was very confident in ranking it at number 4. All right. Number 3, hitting the top 3 here with a score of 90. Joe's Takeout. Joe's Takeout in Clemens was a double, so to speak, because I had scoped it out prior to the tour start. But nonetheless, Steve and I tried 3 burgers when we went there. The barbecue burger, which was a specialty burger that was not on the menu, but on the sandwich board outside, with a barbecue sauce, cheddar, and an onion ring on it, and it was really good. The OKC burger, which I believe you say it's cooked on top of onions, right?
That's supposed to be. That's an onion burger.
Yeah.
Oklahoma onion burger.
Yeah. Mayonnaise, pickles, tomato, and light mustard is what we had put on it. And the smashed Joe's burger. The latter was one that counted for us. It was mayonnaise, pickles, tomato, onion, and mustard with cheese, of course. The seasoning was really, really good. The ingredients were really fresh, and you could taste that. The onions were crisp, the tomato juicy, but not too juicy. Pickles crunched, and the patty was perfectly smashed. It was just a really, really good burger and well-deserving, I think, of the number 3 spot.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite places anyway. And it's the only place you can get an Oklahoma-style onion burger, which is one of my favorite types.
Right.
It's a great place, great people.
They're located in the Tanglewood Commons Shopping Center across from Tanglewood Park at 4124 Clemens Road. Number 2, and what was probably the biggest surprise for you and me on this tour, Steve, 601 Burgers and Brews with a score of 92.
We weren't even going to go to that place.
No, we weren't. We had no expectations and even joked about some of the menu items, expecting it to be a mediocre experience. We could not have been any more wrong. What we got was popped in the mouth with burger magic. We had 2 burgers that we split between us. One was the misnamed Smash Burger, which should have been called Smashed Burger because unlike a traditional smash burger with smaller patties, into a ball and then smashed on the grill, forming that good crust and char. This was a burger that was smashed onto the grill after being assembled, bun and all. Now, while we laughed at it, and we're not proud of laughing at it, we stopped laughing immediately and were pleasantly surprised at the flavors.
That was the most surprising burger I've had probably in years. I mean, just crazy, surprisingly delicious.
Yes. Double patty, pimento cheese, candied bacon, and smashed, grilled on a brioche bun. But that was not the official burger. That was the for fun burger. The official burger is called Old Glory. And Steve and I have met up for lunch several times after this, and we still mention the Old Glory burger at 601. American cheese, shredded lettuce, tomato mayo, and we add the onion. Y'all. When I say y'all, I mean y'all. This burger was near perfection. Properly seasoned and juicy patties, crisp pickles, wonderfully plump but not messy tomato, and just a little more lettuce than I wanted, so I did scrape some of that off, but that did not impact the burger. To top it off, the Sidewinder chips, let's be honest, were the puffed on the inside, crispy on the outside French fries shaped like little half moons. They were the bomb diggity, and I can't believe I used that word, but I did. The restaurant is located at 2203 North US 601 in Mocksville, so it's a little trek, and it would probably be worthy of the top spot, except at number 1 with a score of 99. The reigning champion returns. Boondoggies comes back and kicks butt, retaining its title. I went in knowing that Boondoggies was going to be hard to beat. I've eaten there several times since 2019, and every time, it's heaven in my mouth. There were some good contenders on the list, but none of them, no matter how hard they try, could knock Boondoggies from atop the mountain. Smash burgers, the way they were meant to be, with amazing flavors, char and crust. We had 3 of them. Only one of them counted. So these are the same 3 burgers we had in 2019, and we just wanted to revisit to make sure that all was right in Burgerland. First, the 2 we didn't count for ranking, but counted in so many other ways. The Rock, which is mayonnaise, homemade barbecue sauce, bacon, grilled onions, and American cheese. Oh, yeah. The Peacock, with mayonnaise, homemade pimento cheese made by Drew's dad, bacon, lettuce, and tomato. Yes, again.
Yep.
But the one you really need to know about in relation to this list is the Grandfather. This is the classic burger. 2 smashed patties, mayo, pickles, tomato, onion, shredded lettuce, and love. There's love on there as the main ingredient. I'm not all religious, but this almost makes me find the Lord. This is 100% everything a smash burger, or any burger in general, should taste like and be, at least in my opinion. The rating should actually be 100, but I did take a half point away because I had to drive so far to get there. But it was worth every mile. Every single mile. Boondoggies is located at 566 East Main Street in Yadkinville. And there you have it. That's the Man Who Ate the Town's Burger Tour 21 recap.
Some great burgers in there. That was a wonderful time. Mr. Tim had a great time doing it.
Yeah, me too, man. I really thank you. I can't thank you enough for your help with it, your partnership with it, your sponsorship of it. The thing about eating with you, I've found you are a wealth of knowledge when it comes to food. And these are just burgers, so it didn't take a whole lot to but when we eat other things, I even tell chefs, I said, I don't know, I'll ask Steve. So you're just my everyman food guru, and that just makes it more fun whenever we do these things.
Yep, I agree. And again, I have a great time doing this as well. So, next time, Philly cheesesteaks.
Well, I'll get to that in a second.
Okay. So actually, I had a question. Do you not find it odd that the top 2 burgers are actually not in Winston?
Top three.
Oh, the top three, yeah. I mean, that's kind of cool and crazy, but, I would say, whoa, you do have to travel to get the best burgers, but they are the best burgers.
I think the thing that Winston has a problem with is taking some of their stuff for granted. I think that we have this and we have this other stuff, and it'll all wash out. And people have their favorite places to go, maybe not for the burger, but for other things. But those three, Joe's, 601, and Boondoggies, that's what they do. I mean, it's in one of them's name, and the other, the hot dogs in that are their focus, and Boondoggies is also hot dogs and burgers, but no one's touching that.
Yeah,
not for a while.
Yep. Anyways, it was awesome burgers. All three of those, just absolutely can't recommend them enough.
Right. So, to our listeners, which of these is your favorite? Do you disagree with me? I welcome comments and friendly discourse. I don't want to hear that the list was biased, because as with my 2019 list, we learned that it is very much biased. It's my list with my rating, my opinion, my blog, my podcast. So it's my bias. So I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, so he's probably not going to be happy with me. But I'm kind of glad that it's over, though. As much as I love doing it, I'm ready to move on to something else. So I doubt he'll share my jubilation for my burger list. So Steve and my wife and I are looking for the next tour for 2022. I think cheesesteak has been mentioned, but I'd like to hear thoughts on other tours we could do. Burritos, tacos, pizza, subs, sushi, although that can get expensive, and so on. So throw them at me, Tim at themanwhoatethetown.com. Just let me know what you think. This is something you could do. And again, thank you, as always, to Street Team Steve for supporting this blog and this podcast and being a fun food partner with my wife and me.
My pleasure.
Thank you to Mojito Latin Soul Food and Diamondback Grill for your support of my efforts. And thanks to the listeners of the podcast and readers of the blog for your valuable support. That will be posted later this week. I've got to add pictures and stuff, but that's basically what I'm saying. Food holidays are sponsored by Mojito Latin Soul Food, your go-to Cuban and Latin-inspired restaurant. You need to go by and see what why I've called their Cubano my favorite sandwich in town. If that's not your thing, try the ceviche or pork belly appetizers. Try their grilled or fried chicken. Have the congri, which is yellow rice and beans with pork belly. All delicious stuff. Mojito Latin Soul Food does reservations. They do takeout. They have a large outdoor patio. Now that's hopefully we're on the backside of the winter. I know there's going to be some cold days ahead, but things will start warming up. They do deliveries to the surrounding businesses like Fiddlin' Fish, Broad Branch Distillery, and when they don't have food trucks, Wise Man, and probably a couple of the other places around. Check them out on their Facebook page and MojitoLatinSoulFood.com. Well, today is Valentine's Day, one of the busiest days of the year for restaurants. It's also quite apropos. It's National Cream-Filled Chocolates Day. So go get your Whitman sampler and be happy. Today is the 14th again. In 1803, Moses Coates of Downingtown, Pennsylvania, received a patent for a machine for paring apples. In 1871, Thomas Adams of Hudson City, New Jersey, received a patent for a method of producing chewing gum. I think there was already chewing gum, but he patented the method. I don't know what that method was. In 1886, on the 14th, California oranges were first shipped east by rail. In 1903, the U.S. Department of Commerce and Labor was established. In 1922, the Fleischmann Company registered Fleischmann's trademark for yeast, which was first used in 1876, so that's a good almost 50 years between first using it. In 1923, the Velveeta Cheese Company is incorporated as a separate company in Monroe, New York. Velveeta had been invented by Emil Fry of Monroe Cheese Company. Velveeta cheese was packaged using a 1921 invention of a tinfoil lining that could house the cheese inside a wooden box. Its special cooking properties quickly caught on. When melted, it was as smooth as velvet, hence its name. And it would never curdle when heated. It was acquired by Kraft in 1927. So it didn't take Kraft long to grow. Yeah, we want that shit right now.
Yep.
On the 14th in 2003, Dolly the sheep died. She was the first animal cloned from an adult animal. She was born in 1996, so she was, 7?
7 or 8, yep.
The 15th is National Gumdrop Day. I enjoy a good gumdrop. I don't know if I like the spicy ones as much, but I like the sweeter ones. On the 15th in 1758, Benjamin Jackson advertised mustard for sale for the first time in America. The advertisement was in the Philadelphia Chronicle and claimed that he was the first and only manufacturer of mustard in America.
Was that French's or just general mustard? Huh?
Just general mustard. I don't know.
Okay.
Need to look that up. In 1764, St. Louis was founded as a fur post by Pierre Laclede. Okay, after I guess it was St. Louis.
Yes, St. Louis.
In 1882, the first shipment of frozen meat left Port Chalmers, New Zealand for Britain aboard the SS Dunedin of the Albion Line. In 1903, the first teddy bear was introduced by Morris and Rose Mitchum, Russian immigrants and owners of a toy novelty store in Brooklyn, inspired by a cartoon in the Washington Post in which President Theodore Teddy Roosevelt decided to spare the life of a bear cub orphaned during a 1902 bear hunt in Mississippi. Mrs. Mitchum made a toy bear and displayed it as Teddy's bear in her shop window, and the bear quickly proved enormously popular with the public. In 1845, something that warms my heart, even though I don't particularly like their stuff, Molson's Brewery limited shares became available to the public for the first time as Molson's became a public joint stock company. At least they're producing. That's good. In 1965, Canada adopted its new red and white flag with a maple leaf in the center. You're Canadian, right?
Indeed.
So what was the flag before the maple leaf?
No idea. I was born after that. So.
Okay.
That's all I've ever seen.
Okay. In 1971, Britain switched from the 12-shilling currency system to the decimal system. In 1971, Britain switched from... I've already done that. In 1982, the world's largest oil rig, the Ocean Ranger, sank in the storm-tossed North Atlantic with a loss of 84 crew members. A bad day for oil, obviously. In 1996, a supertanker, the Sea Empress, runs aground near Wales, spilling 70,000 tons of crude oil. The oil spill severely damaged several bird sanctuaries. In 2005, on the 15th in San Francisco, fire destroyed Fior d'Italia, America's oldest Italian restaurant. It reopened at a different location not long after that. It opened in 1886.
Wow.
And on the 16th, it's National Almond Day. Not almond. It's almond. And there's a D, not almond like the brothers. It's almond. In 1864, Jacob Bale of Earlsville, Illinois, received a patent for an improvement in grain binders. So I guess they could bale. Yep. In 1932, James E. Markham of Stark Brothers Nurseries and Orchards in Mississippi received the first patent for a fruit tree, which I don't know how you can patent that, but it was for a peach tree whose fruit ripened later than other varieties. So I guess you can get them later in the season.
Yeah. Okay.
In 1937, Dr. Wallace Hume Carruthers received a patent for nylon. It was filed in 1931, but didn't get approved until 1937. The patent was assigned to the DuPont company. One of its uses was to replace the hog bristles that had been used in toothbrushes. So, good. In 1968, Haleyville, Alabama became the first U.S. telephone system to use 911 as the universal number for emergency services. In 2009, Burgers and Beer on the Road. A truck carrying 40,000 pounds of frozen hamburger patties hit the center median and dumped thousands of pounds of burgers onto Interstate 15 near Salt Lake City. A few hours later on Interstate 84, also in Utah, a truck carrying 40,000 pounds of Fat Tire beer from New Belgium hit the center median and spilled its load on the highway. Neither driver was injured. I hope they drug tested them, or at least drunk tested them. In 2001, the bookstore chain Borders filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. On the 17th, it's National Cafe au Lait Day. And that's not au lait, it's with milk. National Cabbage Day as well. In 1863, the International Red Cross was founded in Geneva, Switzerland on the 17th. In 1869, the Canadian Society for the Preservation of Cruelty to Animals was founded. That's the CSPCA. And I wonder, since she's Canadian too, if Sarah McLachlan is the official songwriter for them as well. In 1876, canned sardines went on sale for the first time in the United States. They were packed in oil. Some people say it was 1873. In 1883, A. Ashwell of West Dulwich, UK, received a patent for the vacant engaged door bolt for lavatory doors. That's actually a pretty cool patent. Hey, you know what? I have the patent for that.
Yep.
Occupied. In 1970, Canada bans the use of phosphates in laundry detergent to prevent damage to lakes and rivers by excessive weed growth. In 2002, new regulations go into effect this year requiring German pig farmers to spend at least 20 seconds every day with each pig. 10 seconds in the morning, 10 seconds in the evening or in the afternoon. I do not know what regulations there might be for spending time with German cows, sheep, chickens, and other farm animals.
Or wives.
Or wives. Yeah. Yeah, that's... Does it have to be that farmer? Can he hire other people? Just go visit that pig.
Yeah, it didn't say it has to be your pig. It's
Right,
as long as there's some human, I guess, interaction.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah. On the 18th, it's National Drink Wine Day.
Huh?
It's also Eat Ice Cream for Breakfast Day to honor all children who have fought or are fighting a battle with cancer. This is not to be confused with Ice Cream for Breakfast Day, which is the first Saturday in February. It's also on the 18th, Crab Stuffed Flounder Day.
That's rather specific.
It is. Some of these, I do not understand where they come from. I do know where they come from, but why? They come from the industry who wants to promote their stuff. I get it.
I guess in this case, the crabs and the flounder people got together.
Yeah. Gorton's. Gorton said, hey, come. On the 18th in 1885, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain was published for the first time. In 1930, at the St. Louis International Air Exposition, a Guernsey cow named Elm Farm Ollie became the first cow to fly in an airplane and the first cow to be milked while flying.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Oh, that's... I have so much to say about that.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say.
Also in 1930, the planet Pluto was discovered by Clyde William Tomball at the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Ex-planet Pluto.
It's back to planet status now.
No.
Yeah.
When did they do that?
Yeah, I think too many people complain. It's a dwarf planet.
Yeah, it's a dwarf planet.
Yeah, but I think
or planetoid or something.
Yeah,
dwarf.
They are. I think giving it status back.
Oh, okay.
In 1937, black blizzard dust storms peril crops and health in Kansas, Colorado, Oklahoma, Texas, and New Mexico. In 1979, low-altitude areas of the Sahara Desert recorded their first snowfall in living memory.
Oh, you don't expect that?
Nope. In 2005, a ban on fox hunting with dogs became effective in England and Wales. No word on whether they can still do it in Scotland or Northern Ireland. Or if they did to begin with.
Right.
So I don't know. On the 19th, it's National Chocolate Mint Day. In 1847, the Donner Party is rescued after being snowbound in the Sierra Nevadas. Almost half the original 87 members died, and some of the survivors seem to be well fed, considering the ordeal they went through. Cannibalism itself is not a crime, and no charges were ever brought. Are you familiar with the song Timothy?
No, not that I know of.
It was written by Rupert Holmes, who did the Pina Colada song and Answer Machine and him. But for another band, and I don't remember the name of the band, but it was three friends who got caught in a mine shaft. And when they rescued them, they couldn't find Timothy, but the other two seemed to be well fed. So yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it was meant to be funny, but some people, it got banned on some radio stations. In 1855, on the 19th, bread riots happened in Liverpool. In 1903, Tsingtao, China's first brewery, was founded by German settlers. And some say that was 1897. Either way, Tsingtao, China's first brewery.
It's good beer, by the way.
It is.
Yeah,
actually.
I like Qingdao.
I like Tsingtao. I like Tiger, which is Singapore.
Yeah, Singaporean. Yeah.
Yep. It's better than Sapporo. Sapporo, Japanese. Yeah,
or any of those. I don't like
that's
Kira,
Bud.
so
That's
Sapporo.
that's Bud Light
Yeah,
for Japanese people.
I agree. Stick with the sake.
Yeah. What's the other one?
Asahi.
Asahi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Asahi.
Yeah, I like that one. Okay. In 1906, Battle Creek Toasted Cornflake Company was founded by Will Keith Kellogg to manufacture breakfast cereals, cornflakes basically, for his brother's sanatorium to keep people from masturbating, which is true. That's why they did that. In 1913, Cracker Jack began putting prizes in each box. In 1985, Cherry Coke was introduced officially. Actually, soda fountains, if you can remember those, had been making them for decades. But in cans and bottles, they were first available. In 1999, a record 6,000-pound strawberry shortcake was created in Florida at the Winter Strawberry Capital of the World Festival. Yeah. Again, how? How do they do this? There's no oven that's going to make a 6,000 pounds. Oh, well.
Yeah, that one you can see, though, that they could assemble it from individual pieces, parts, right? I mean,
yeah, but that...
yes, it's get 1,000 loaves of bread or something. And,
yeah.
Or, whatever. But whatever. You frost it. You put some strawberries on it. Yeah. That one I could sort of see-ish.
Yeah. I think it's pushing it a bit. If it's all these individual pieces... I don't know.
Yeah.
In 2012, a team at Maastricht University in the Netherlands announced that they had successfully used stem cells to grow muscle tissue, intending to produce the first lab-grown hamburger later that year. Would you want to eat that?
Not so much.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that maybe where Beyond Meat is, and Impossible Burgers, which I find impossible to eat. I just can't. On the 20th, it's National Cherry Pie Day and National Muffin Day. In 1703, on the 20th, Mount Gay Estate, Barbados, began distilling rum, and Mount Gay rum is the oldest existing brand of rum in the world. I'm going to pause here a second, and for the Super Bowl party yesterday, I made vodka and rum-soaked gummy bears. So, pro tip from experience, don't soak them for more than 12 hours. They become quite slimy, and you put them in your mouth, and they just dissolve. They still taste good, but it's just not fun to eat them. 12 hours, I did it for 24 hours. They were quite broken down.
I was going to say, did they even maintain their shape? The answer is, I guess, no.
No, they did, but they didn't look like bears. It just looked like, little blobs with nibs and nubs, So, yeah. So if you do that, do it only for 12 hours, because I noticed after 6 hours that they were already starting to swell and puff, and 12 would have been perfect. Now we know. And knowing is half the battle. Thank you, G.I. Joe. On the 20th in 1792, President George Washington signed the Postal Service Act, establishing the U.S. Post Office as a cabinet department. On the 20th in 1829, Yuengling Brewery in Pennsylvania opened. It is the oldest brewery still operating in the United States. In 1872, Cyrus Baldwin of Boston received a patent for a hydraulic electric elevator. It was installed in the Stevens Hotel in New York City. In 1872, on the 20th, Silas Noble and James Cooley of Granville, Massachusetts were issued a patent for a toothpick manufacturing machine. In 1872, Luther Childs Crowell of Cape Cod, Massachusetts, was granted a patent for a machine to manufacture square-bottom paper bags. It's the same basic design that's still used today, and Crowell is the third most prolific American inventor of the 19th century with more than 280 patents.
Wow. Impressive.
It is. I don't know who number 1 and number 2 are, but
oh, you'd have to think Edison's got to be up there.
Edison, probably, and everybody stole shit from Tesla, so it probably wouldn't have been him.
No.
Edison and Marconi stole all his stuff,
yep.
So... yeah. It'll be interesting to find out. In 1933, the Congress proposed the 21st Amendment to repeal prohibition. The amendment was ratified on December 5th, 1933, and became effective on December 15th, 1933. In 2009, Hershey's, the largest U.S. candy maker, closed its candy factory in Reading, Pennsylvania. The factory produced, among others, the Zagnut, York Peppermint Patty, and Fifth Avenue candy bars. Production was moved to their new factory in Monterrey, Mexico. That's your food holidays and history for this week. Special thanks to James Ehler at Food Reference for making us chuckle, roll our eyes, and say absolutely no to lab-grown hamburgers.
Or lab-grown any other food, probably.
Yeah.
Listen to why I limit it there.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. The Man Who Ate the Town podcast is part of the Less Desirables podcast network. Along with this podcast, you can listen to the Less Desirables, the Beer Dads, Fan Interference, Beeswax, Final Daily, Wheeler's Dog, Asylum Tales from the Devereaux Diaries podcast, the Useless Things podcast, and the Health Geeks Book Club podcast. If you like to know about healthy things and don't want to read those health books, then this is the podcast for you. You can find all those podcasts and their latest episodes on the network website and directory, tldpodnetwork.com. You'll find all that you need to know about those on that website. Again, tldpodnetwork.com. This is a reminder for all the listeners, and it's just good practice, not just now, but for always. Wash your damn hands. Wash with warm water and soap. Wash with that soap for 20 seconds or more. If you don't know how long that is, just sing along to this.
Oh, late night so long ago, when I was not so strong, you know, good man came to me, never seen eyes so blue, you know, I could not run away, it seemed, we'd seen each other in a dream, seemed like he knew me, he looked right through me, yeah. Come on home, girl, he said with a
It's longer than 20 seconds, but I like this part.
Love me and let's get high a while, but try to understand, try to understand, I'm a magic girl.
So, Hearts, appropriately, you know, on Valentine's Day, their debut album, Dreamboat Annie, was released on February 14th, 1976. So, happy anniversary to that album.
All right. Love Heart.
Yeah. Other big song from that album was Crazy on You. Keep an eye on the blog and this podcast to find out more about the food news and happenings around town. If you have food news, send an email, tim@themanwhoatethetown.com. And if you have suggestions for the tour of 22, I do not necessarily want to go from March to Thanksgiving. I'm thinking, you know, like we did in 2019, Memorial Day to Labor Day, the summer is good.
Yeah.
I knew that there was going to be a lot to cover. That's why I wanted to do the burger tour so big. we're not going to have, I don't think, as many entries for if we do a cheesesteak or any of those other things. There's just not everybody has that. Everybody has a burger. So, almost everybody. So, yeah. So, Tim at themanwhoatetown.com. You can also contact us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter through their instant messengers. You can like us on Facebook. On Twitter, we are manwho8thetown. On Instagram, we are manwhoatthetown. We invite you to call and leave a voicemail for the podcast or any other podcast on the TLD network. You can call 336-422-6862. That's right, 336-422-NUM. Leave us a voicemail, and we'll play it on the podcast. Again, 336-422-NUM-6862. Wow, that was a lot to go through, but we can finally put the Burger Tour 21 to bed. You happy with the list?
I am very happy with the list. There's no disagreements with those, any of those, actually.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, well, my name's Tim.
And I'm Street Team Steve.
And we're closing the recipe trunk. Until next time, thank you for reading. Thank you for listening. Bon appetit. Yamas. The views and opinions stated by me or any of my guests are solely those of ours and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of our hosting companies, distributors, enemies, friends, or relatives. This podcast is copyrighted and cannot be reproduced or distributed without express written consent of the man who ate the town, that's me, and such Limited Inc. However, if you ask nicely, we'll probably let you.